Well, my father, Kirk and I have been trying over 20 years now, I think, or at least 15, 16 years to do a picture together. We've just sort of for posterity and the fact that we're both are actors, and we thought it'd be a nice idea initially, and then my father had his helicopter crash when he was 70, and then it was followed by pacemaker, operation, and then he had his stroke, and then 9/11 happened. So the desire to bond and do a picture, with my dad took on sort of much more important meanings. And particularly after 9/11, I was in New York City on that day with my wife and my son. And that was a tremendous reminder, least of which about family and things that are closest to you. I should back up a little bit and talk about our director, Fred Skepsey. Wonderfully talented man who we brought a screenplay to, and the reality was that my father and I were going to do this movie together, and he was excited about it. And then I introduced him to my son, and he said, well, part of Asher's a big part. It's a lot of screen time. He doesn't have a lot of... I said, well, it really mean a lot. I hope it all works out. I mean, obviously you got to have to audition him and everything else. And Fred was wonderful, and he auditioned, Cameron, and worked. He said, okay, all right, I think, as long as he keeps on working with his acting coach, just beginning, I think he'd be great. I said, great. I said, and Fred, I'd like you to meet my mom, too. He went, about this time, he said, wait a minute. This is not, it's not a vanity production. I said, no, I look, this just happens that this piece of material is very appropriate for our family, and it's a perfect part for my mother. So Mom went on and did a taped, reading here in Los Angeles, and sent it back, and he didn't even have to meet her. And he said, I see what you mean, you're right, she's got the part. I think everybody realized what a great ear and eyes Fred has. He keeps things simple, doesn't try to be tricky, and he's got he has a real good detector about when it's honest and true. And I was looking for writers, and there was a writing sample that came across my desk from a young writer who wanted to do this, called Jesse Wigato, a 28-year-old guy who had this screenplay. And I looked at it, and it had just a great part for my father, part of Mitchell. And I thought, I was only looking at it as a writing sample, for another project, but I said, wow, look at this. This is a really, really good part. And then there was this other part of my son, who the part of Asher, who was a DJ spinner, which my son is, 21, 22, which my son is. And it had a lot of other issues that were directly related, to him, which was like gravy. I hadn't even thought about that, and my son really hadn't been involved in acting. Cameron is his name. My mother, Diana Douglas, who has been divorced from my father, Kirk, for 50 years, plays Kirk's wife in the movie Evelyn. And it was fairly effortless. Quite honestly, we just sort of, got on with it. I think particularly because once we knew Cameron, where I don't know where the hell he came from. I guess you talk about genes, because he's not had a lot of schooling and training, and I've always been all over him about, you got to go to acting school, this or that. And he worked hard for about 3 months before the picture, but it was like a natural, And so I think that allowed my father and I to be more secure in that we'd have to worry about him. There's really an issue of my character not living up to my father's standards, not achieving. He's a single child, not really achieving what his Mitchell would like him to. And where in my own life, I feel like my dad's always been, wonderfully supportive and very, very generous. I'm such a fan of hers. I think she's got such a wonderful, quirky quality. And with Rebecca, we needed somebody who had truthfulness, but also had a certain, sense of humor in how she looked at life. And she embraced the whole environment and situation so quickly. Knew that we would be looking out for her and wanted her to be as good as any member of our family was or any other cast member in the picture. Cute as hell. And I was proud to have her as my screen wife. It's about the family unit, both good and bad, that through genes we feel an obligation and a responsibility, which sometimes we love, sometimes we don't. But I think it's how 3 generations of a family, each in their own dysfunctional way, living their own separate lives, find a couple of moments in time to kind of come together and remind themselves that they're attached by blood. I think this is going to be a family film where each generation is going to see the cracks in their armor, hopefully can smile or chuckle at them. A couple times during the making of it, thought there'd be a couple times where family members sort of look down the aisle at other family members and say, does that remind you of somebody you know? It was a memorable time, something I'm so happy that I can have, with me for the rest of my life.